these guys got next? My name's Elijah Fa'afiu, and was always joined by my basketball aficionado, basketball expert, Ravindu Pathirana. We've got a big episode today, lots to get into in terms of predicting our playoff bracket and as well as choosing our eventual NBA champion. But Rav, just a quick check-in with you. How's everything on your end, mate?
Yeah, looking good, mate. I'm looking forward to this episode. A lot of predictions to be made off the back of our analysis over the last few episodes. But yeah, how about you?
Yeah, the NBA regular season's just around the corner, so I'm ready to get stuck in. And I've had a look at both of our predictions, some interesting takes that we're going to discuss in this episode. So looking forward to getting stuck in. I guess we'll go straight into things. We've picked our 1 to 15 in both the Western and Eastern conferences, so we're going to use this opportunity now to list off where we think each team is going to rank. We've already done the analysis. Today is all about the predictions. So without further ado, let's get straight into it. Western Conference, shall we start over there, Rav? I'm going to throw it to you, so take it away, mate.
Cool. All right, so coming in number 15, I've got the Portland Trailblazers. 14, I've got the Jazz. 13, Eli and I's favourite team, the Los Angeles Clippers. 12, Golden State Warriors. 11, San Antonio Spurs. 10, I've got the Rockets. Los Angeles Lakers coming in at 9. Kings coming in at 8. Grizzlies at 7. Suns at 6. Denver Nuggets at 5. Phoenix Suns at 4. Timberwolves at 3. Dallas Mavericks at 2, and OKC rounding out the Western Conference.
With me, it's actually quite similar to what you've listed. There's a few changes in there that we'll discuss, but for me, for number 15, Portland Trailblazers, looks like they're about to capture the flag this season. Number 14, the Utah Jazz, also in contention to capture the flag. 13, San Antonio Spurs. 12, our beloved Los Angeles Clippers, unfortunately. Looks like Kawhi is going to be out for an extended bit of time to start the year, so not looking too shabby there. 11, Golden State Warriors. 10, New Orleans Pelicans. 9, Los Angeles Lakers. 8, Memphis Grizzlies. 7, Sacramento Kings. 6, the Houston Rockets. They're my big leaper this season. 5, the Denver Nuggets. 4, Phoenix Suns. 3, Minnesota Timberwolves. 2, Dallas Mavericks. And 1, Oklahoma City Thunder. So we've pretty much got the same top 4 there. There's, again, as I mentioned before, there's a couple of teams that we've swapped around, so we'll touch on that. But before we do, we'll head over to the Eastern Conference. Ravi, what's your 15 to 1, please?
Yeah, I've got Brooklyn Nets coming in at 15, Washington Wizards at 14, Chicago Bulls 13. Shout out Lonzo, he's back, great to see. Detroit Pistons at 12, Raptors 11, Charlotte Hornets at 10, Atlanta Hawks at 9, Miami Heat at 8, Cleveland Cavs at 7, Orlando Magic at 6, Indiana Pacers at 5, the Bucks and Dame and Giannis coming in at 4, Sixers with PG at 3, New York Knicks coming in at 2, and Boston Celtics at the top.
We've pretty much got the same teams from 15 to 8, so this is about to be the shortest episode of analysis ever. So just to round it off again, 15 Brooklyn Nets, 14 Washington Wizards, 13 Chicago Bulls, 12 Detroit Pistons, 11 Toronto Raptors, 10 Charlotte Hornets, 9 Atlanta Hawks, 8 Miami Heat, 7 Indiana Pacers, 6 the Milwaukee Bucks, 5 Orlando Magic, 4 the Cleveland Cavaliers, 3 Philadelphia 76ers, 2 the New York Knicks, and 1 the Boston Celtics. So a lot of similarities. Again, let's just dive into some of our differences. If we head back to the West, we've swapped the Houston Rockets and the New Orleans Pelicans. So I've got them at 6, and I've got the Pelicans at 10. You've got the Pelicans at 6 and the Rockets at 10. Do you want to share why you've put the Pelicans at 6 and Houston at the edge of the playoffs?
Yeah, I think just bringing on the addition of Dejounte Murray, that's a differentiator for them to be able to step up this season, especially with the core they've got. One thing to take into account is, I guess, their lack of depth at the center position. They've signed Yves Missy who didn't look all that comfortable during preseason. But I think if they can make a trade package, possibly around BI or even signing a big name back in that side to pair up with Zion in the front court, yeah, that'll definitely help them solidify that in 6 spot. I reckon definitely they are a playoff team.
Yeah, I think for that reason, the lack of centre in New Orleans, I've put them down at 10, because I read that Herb Jones looks like the guy who's going to play at centre, which when you think about it is going to be crazy when he's going up against guys like Chet Holmgren and Gobert and and Jokic in particular. Like, that's not going to work out if you're the Pelicans. So you definitely need to sign someone or trade for someone using maybe BI as bait. For me, the Houston Rockets, as I mentioned, were my big leaper. I think they've got so much upside with that young squad. Again, we rattle off these names: Alperen Şengün, Jalen Green, Reed Shepherd, who they just drafted, Jabari Smith, Amin Thompson, Cam Whitmore, the vets, Fred VanVleet, Dylan Brooks, Steven Adams. Like, that's such a great squad in my mind. And they showed some upside last season. I think they finished 41-41 with Ime Udoka. I expect them to take another leap this season and even avoid the play-in. Like, they'll get into the playoffs and take that 6th spot. So I see a bright future for this Houston side. I guess my only concern with Houston is how they're going to share the minutes among all those players. So that's probably my big question with those guys. Heading over to the East, I guess the two teams where we sort of have a bit of difference in the Cleveland Cavaliers, I've got them as the 4th seed in the East. You've got the Milwaukee Bucks in 4th and the Cavs down at 7. I've got the Bucks down at 6. I guess what's your reason for having the Bucks at 4 and Cleveland at 7?
I think what we saw in preseason, I just really hope that'll translate throughout the rest of the season. Dame just opening up all that spacing for Giannis just to dominate the lane. I think that'll just be massive. I know they lost a couple of key pieces over the off season, but I think Dame has got one more season in him, and if he stays healthy, Giannis stays healthy, this team definitely pushes top 4.
Yeah, I think for me, the Cavs being at 4 falls in line with my prediction about Evan Mobley being the most improved player. I'm expecting him to have a big year, to be the guy that steps up and helps out Donovan Mitchell. I'm also expecting Darius Garland to get back to his all-star form potentially. So that's the reason I have Cleveland up at 4. And then with the Bucks, I'm still not convinced that outside of Giannis and Dame that they've got the supporting cast to help them out, just because I think there's a lot of older guys around them with Middleton and Brook Lopez and Bobby Portis. So unless those guys can stay strong on the court, I just don't see the Bucks cracking the top 4. So other than that, we've pretty much got the same seedings in both the West and the East. So good on you, Rav. Great minds think alike for the most part. We'll get stuck into our playoff brackets now. Of course, the playoffs start with the play-in tournament. So for those who don't know how it works, it's the 7th team against the 8th team. The winner of that takes the 7th seed in their conference. The loser takes on the winner of the 9th and 10th matchup, and then the winner of that matchup becomes the official 8th seed in their conference. So play-in tournaments, Rav, I'll let you sort out. I'll let you share your brackets in the play-in tournament in both the West and the East.
Yep, definitely. So I've got the Lakers versus the Rockets playing for that 9th, 10th, with the Lakers winning that and fighting for the 8th seed. 7 and 8, I've got the Grizzlies and Kings battling it out. I've got the Grizzlies winning that, taking the 7th seed, and I've got the Kings and the Lakers battling it out for that 8th seed, with the Lakers winning it. But I don't think that's going to be a win by a large margin. It's going to be a really good game to watch between the Lakers and the Kings. Heading on over to the East side, I've got the Atlanta Hawks and the Charlotte Hornets playing for that 9th, 10th, with the Hornets winning that. I believe they have such a good team around them. Also, we've got Cavs and the Heat for the 7th and 8th, with the Cavs winning that, taking the 7th seed. And I've got the Heat versus the Hornets for the 8th seed, with the Heat pushing through into that 8th seed. What's on your plan, Eli?
Awesome. So in terms of my play-in tournaments on the West, I've got the 7th and 8th matchup. I've got the Kings against the Pelicans, where I think the Pelicans will take the win there and become the 7th seed. The Kings will go on to face the winner of the Grizzlies and Lakers, which is my 9 and 10th matchup. I think the Grizzlies win that. The Grizzlies will then take on the Kings for the official 8th seed spot. I think the Kings will take that out, and they'll take on the Oklahoma City Thunder in the first round. Heading over to the East, I've got the 7th and 8th matchup being the Pacers against the Heat, and I've got the Pacers winning that one. The Heat, as the loser, will take on the winner of the 9-10 matchup, which is the Hawks and the Hornets. I think the Hawks win that one, and then the Hawks against the Heat for the official 8th seed in the East. I've got the Heat winning that one, so the Heat will go on to face the Boston Celtics in what should be a mouth-watering first round there. First round of playoffs. There's a lot of enticing matchups in this one. Ravi, I'll let you go ahead with your West and Eastern first rounds.
Yeah, cool. Thanks, Eli. So I've got the OKC first seed playing the Lakers. I've got OKC winning in 5. Off to the 2nd and the 7th, Dallas versus Memphis Grizzlies. Dallas also winning in 5. I've got Wolves and the Pelicans as the 3 and the 6. And I've got the Wolves actually sweeping the New Orleans Pelicans. And 4-5 seed, we've got the Suns and the Nuggets, and I've got this as the first 7-game series of the playoffs. Off to the East now, I've got the Celtics playing the Heat, which I believe they'll sweep them. Then Bucks Pacers, Bucks winning in 5, 76ers Magic, them winning in 5 as well, with the 76ers winning in 5 rather. And the Knicks Cavs, I've also got the Knicks winning in 5. Over to you, Eli.
So, for me, first round, Oklahoma City Thunder is the first seed against the 8th seeded Sacramento Kings. I've got OKC winning in 6. The 2nd seed, Dallas Mavericks against the 7th seed New Orleans Pelicans. I got Dallas winning in 5. The 3rd seeded Minnesota Timberwolves against the 6th seeded Houston Rockets. I've got Minnesota winning in 6. And the 4th seeded Phoenix Suns against the 5th seeded Denver Nuggets. I've got Phoenix winning in 7. So that's my Western first round. Over to the East, 1st seeded Boston Celtics against the 8th seeded Miami Heat. I got Boston sweeping Miami. 2nd seed New York Knicks against the 7th seed Indiana Pacers. I've got New York winning in 6. The 3rd seeded Philadelphia 76ers against the 6th seed Milwaukee Bucks. I've got Philly winning in 7. And I've got the 4th seeded Cleveland Cavaliers against the 5th seeded Orlando Magic, a rematch of last year's first round epic. I've got Cleveland winning in 6. So just to share where we're at with the second round teams, on the West I've got OKC, Phoenix, Minnesota and Dallas through on the East, and on the West, and on the East I've got Boston, Cleveland, Philadelphia and New York. I think, Ravi, do you have pretty much the same teams on your end? I don't think there's anyone different that's
just
made it through
one team actually. I've got the Bucks going through to the second round.
Oh yes, you do. Yep.
Over compared to Cavs, but everything else is the same with like Thunder, Suns, Wolves, Mavs, Celts, Bucks, Sixers and Knicks.
Awesome. Well, while we're still on you, Ravi, I'll let you take it away with the second round of the playoffs in both the West and the East.
Yeah, so I've got the second round Thunder playing the Suns, and the Thunder winning in 6 for that one. One of the most entertaining matchups we've seen in the playoffs last season was the Wolves and the Mavs. I've got the Mavs winning in 7. For this one, very tight call, but I think Mavs might just take the edge on this. Over to the East, I've got the Celtics taking it out in 6 over the Bucks, and another Game 7 where the Knicks take it out over the 76ers. Over to you.
Awesome. For me, second round in the West, OKC against the Suns. I've got OKC winning in 5. Timberwolves and Mavs, which I'm expecting to be a great matchup should they meet again in the playoffs. I've got Minnesota winning in 7. Over in the East, I've got the Celtics against the Cavs. Boston, I think, will take that out in 6. And Philadelphia and New York, which I think should be a an awesome matchup given the off seasons those two squads had. I've got Philly actually winning that in 7. Yeah, in terms of the conference finals, Ravi, just share who you have and who you think will advance to the NBA finals.
Yeah, so on the west side, I've got OKC versus the Mavs, and I put the Thunder taking it out in 7 games. Really close call again, but I do believe, just off the experience what this young Thunder team has with the acquisitions they had over the off season, they will get the edge over the Mavs. On the east side, I've got the Celtics versus the Knicks, which will make for a fantastic series, and I've got the Knicks going through in 7. So another 7-game series for myself. Over to you, Eli.
My Western Conference Finals, OKC against Minnesota. I think OKC will move on to the NBA Finals. They'll win in 6 games. In the Eastern Conference Finals, I've got the Boston Celtics against the Philadelphia 76ers. This is going to be a bit of an upset, but I think Philly will win the series in 7. So So for me, my NBA Finals is OKC against Philly. Rav, what is your NBA Finals matchup?
Yeah, I've got OKC versus the Knicks.
Okay, so we've both gone OKC out of the West, but we've gone different sides in the East. I've gone Philly, you've gone New York. Ravi, who is going to win and become your NBA champion this upcoming season?
I've got the New York Knicks coming out of the playoffs and winning the NBA championship. I think they just accumulated a solid team, and we've seen good flashes of them over the preseason. There's a lot of upside on that side. Imagine what it'll do for New York, for the culture of the NBA. Having New York win a chip, like we know how crazy New York gets. Even if they get past the first round, second round, a lot of energy, and I really hope they can continue on the postseason trend that they built up last season.
I think there's going to be riots in New York, regardless of if they. I mean, even if they lose, but even if they win the chip, there's going to be a riot. Like that's a big call from you, Rav. But I back it. Sort of, because I've gone with a different NBA champion. OKC against Philadelphia 76ers. Initially, I had the Thunder. Then I changed my mind. I've actually gone for the Philadelphia 76ers winning in 6 games. Now, my reasoning is a bit interesting. It's come off the back of the news that Joel Embiid isn't going to play back-to-back games this season. I think that's beneficial for Philly in the long run, just because if you're trying to keep Joel Embiid healthy, you want him healthy for the playoffs. I think it's not a good plan. It's not a bad plan to have that when you're trying to look after Joel's health. PG's there. Yes, he hyperextended his knee during the preseason, but he's going to have a week off, and he'll be fine, and I'm sure he'll be back. Balling on court. Tyrese Maxey's there as well. Great third option. Great member of that big 3, and they've got a solid supporting cast around them. Andre Drummond, Kelly Oubre, Eric Gordon, just a whole lot of vets, which is what you want if you're needing guys to sort of fill the void there. But going back to my point about Embiid, they're trying to keep him healthy for the playoffs. The Raptors, back in 2019, the year that Kawhi was there, the 1 year, they pretty much had a similar plan. They made sure he didn't play back-to-backs. They tried to keep him healthy throughout the regular season, and then by the time it was playoffs, he turned up, he balled out, they won a chip. Now, they also had a great supporting cast around Kawhi, but remember who was the head coach of the Raptors that year? Nick Nurse, right? He's currently the head coach of the Philadelphia 76ers. So he's implemented the plan before. He's going to do the same with Joel Embiid. I think it could pay off if they stick to the plan.
Yeah,
that's the key. So it's all about execution. So that's why I've gone with Philly. Also, I walked past someone the other day while I was on my walk. He was wearing a Joel Embiid singlet. So I think that was a call from the heavens. It looked like a fake singlet though, so it could be a sign of false hope. But hey, I'll take it for what it is. So I've gone with the Philadelphia 76ers. I know the big off-season move was the Karl Anthony Towns trade. Did that trade affect how you put your bracket together? Did it change anything from your end?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that had changed was the conference finals, because it did back the Knicks to go through, even with Julius Randle on board, all the way to the conference finals. But I think the point where it kind of tipped the scales was that getting Cat across, and like we've spoke about this in the Eastern episode, where we know that the lack of depth in the centre position, especially with KP's health and Al Horford's age, that's the biggest question mark around that Celtic squad. But when you think about it, the way they've constructed this team to guard, I guess, go toe to toe with the Celtics, you got Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby can D up JB and JT. Jalen Brunson can do his thing. Josh Hart can take up, he'll be guarded by Derek White. But I think there will be a lot of opportunities for the Knicks to kind of slither away with a win. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be a very entertaining series, and definitely looking forward to seeing the riots on social media following this series if it goes either way.
Yeah, that Cat trade completely changed my predictions, because before the Cat trade, I had Minnesota winning the whole thing, because I think the squad that they had pretty much running the back with everyone, I think, except the only changes, probably Kyle Anderson was out and Joe Ingles came in, but I mean, I feel like they're like for like in a way. I thought that squad was good enough to win a championship just because everyone was coming back. Then the trade happens. My concerns with the Knicks is still the same around their depth. Outside of their starting five, who's going to step up from the bench? And I think that's why I have the Knicks bowing out in the second round against Philly. And I think the thing with the Timberwolves, how Julius Randle fits in, I think he can fit in, but I think the question marks over that wasn't enough for me to put them as the NBA champion. Yeah, that Cat trade definitely changed my predictions. But hey, I'm going to double down with Philly. I'm happy with that pick. So moving on, before we move on, just in terms of the numbers that we came up with in the playoffs, Rav, you've picked 2 sweeps throughout the whole playoff series. I've only picked 1. You've picked 3 series to go to Game 7s. I've picked 4 series to go to Game 7s. So that's some interesting numbers there that we've both pulled up. To the shot clock segment, 24 seconds to come up with our big take of the day, whether it be hot, warm or cold, however you like to put it. Today, Rav is stepping up to take the ball. He's taking the inbound for 24 seconds. So, Rav, you ready? I'm going to count you down. Cool. 3, 2, 1. Inbound to you.
All right, thank you, Eli. So I'm going to say that the Charlotte Hornets are going to surprise a lot of people this season. That's pretty much it. Typical LaMelo fashion. Just pull out from way deep from the logo. The reason I say that is just watching them over preseason, seeing that LaMelo's back healthy, playing again. He put up 18 and 7 in the first game, 24, 6 and 4. He's a very skilled player, and having the keys to that team, we know what he's able to do, and he's shown a lot of flashes of having a promising career. But the biggest thing that's held him back was the ankle injuries. The last season he averaged 8 assists a game. Like he's a playmaking shot creator. If you're using 2. But I've heard that he's found a pair of ankle braces that kind of suits him well, and he is willing to use. So hopefully that'll support the ankles enough to push him through the whole season and really put the East on notice with this team. Another person to mention is Brandon Miller, the rookie they drafted last year. He averaged 17, 4 and 2 in his rookie season, and to me he looks like a Paul George type player, and he has said himself as well, PG is his GOAT. There's a lot of similarities for his game, and I think with LaMelo being away, he was able to step up a lot more and show that he's a prolific scorer. But I think with LaMelo coming back, it definitely won't affect his game, because 55% of his shots were from step back jumpers and 41% were from pull up J's. And he's got such a quick shot to get off as well. And one of the more interesting stats is that he averages just over 2 dribbles per touch. So that, I think, with LaMelo coming up, dishing out the ball as is, he's going to drop a little bit more into that catch and shoot role, but still is able to create his own shot. And typically, we've seen what PG's been able to do with his career, and hopefully Brandon Miller pairs out to be something like that. Another person I'm just going to mention is Tian Salan, who was his 6th overall pick. Very raw as a rookie, but he brings a lot of energy, and I reckon he will fit really well with this young team who likes to play fast, and he is a transition player. So with LaMelo wanting to, pull trigger early on those, I guess, deep passes, the Hail Mary passes from the inbound play, or making stuff happen in transition, I think he'll be really, really, really good for this team. I guess that's my hot take. I think they're coming. They're up in the East, and don't be surprised if they come in for like a good 6-7 seed next season. This season, I think they just need a bit of time to gel together.
Nice. But, for those keeping count, Rav used 10 of his 24 seconds to say that Charlotte's going to be the most surprising team. He legit pulled a LaMelo, pulled up 10 seconds into the shot clock, and held the pose before he dished out some stats on Braden Miller and Tijan Salan. So good on you, Rav. I back it. I think the Hornets. We both had the Hornets in the play-in this season, so we definitely think they're creeping up there with the squad that they've got. I guess keeping in touch, and that's definitely based on what you've seen in the preseason. So if we look at everything else that's been happening in the preseason, it's been a lot of interesting moments, a lot of standout players that have come through. I guess what have you sort of noticed from this preseason? Anything that stood out to you at all?
Yeah, a couple of things. 1,006 days, I believe, was the number. But Alonso's back on the court, and I think that's so good for the Bulls. Yeah, I'm just going to leave it there. But someone else who I've kind of kept an eye on, Keontae George. Rather flies under the radar because, Jazz is a small market team. But I think he's shown some great flashes in the preseason off the back of what he was able to do last season. I think he's going to have a breakout season, so that's someone definitely look out for. Anyone stood out for you, Eli?
Yeah, a couple of names that probably aren't big names, but two guys that have stood out to me. One is Yuki Katamura, Japanese point guard out of the Grizzlies at the moment. He's currently fighting for a contract. I hope for the fans' sake he makes it in. I guess ever since we saw that photo of him and Zach Edey trying to recreate that Manute Bol and Muggsy Bogues photo with the big tall guy and one of the little fellas in the league, that was such a cool moment. And then Yuki doing the gritty during the Memphis Open practice, and he brought Jar along to do it with him. And even in the preseason on the court, he's doing his talking on the court. Some great playmaking, some great assists. He's proving that at 5'8", size is just a number. It doesn't matter. He's balling out there on the court, and I hope for his sake he gets a contract in Memphis. The other guy is Ryan Dunn, who I guess we love to overreact from the preseason. So here's my overreaction. Ryan Dunn is going to be the steal of this NBA draft. 28th overall pick in this recent draft, coming out of Virginia. He was known as one of the top defenders in this draft class, but he couldn't shoot at all. That was the big concerns heading into his rookie season. It seems he's fixed it in a short amount of time, because he's already shot 12 threes in the 4 preseason games he's played so far. He shot 12 threes in a 65-game college career. So he's already made up. He's made up for it in the lab. He's been putting in hard work. So good on Ryan Dunn. And we talked about the Suns needing a depth piece. Ryan Dunn in his rookie season could be that depth piece to help out the big three. So those are sort of some key talking points out of the preseason. So going from the preseason into our quickfire, as we always like to do. 60 seconds on the clock. We're going to have a few questions back and forth for me and Rav. I'm going to kick things off. So let's count us down, Rav, in 3, 2, 1. Who is going to be in the finals of the in-season tournament, aka the NBA Cup?
I've gone the Kings and the Cavs. How about you?
I've gone the Kings and the Pacers. Who's going to win the NBA Cup?
I've got the Kings winning the NBA Cup. Yourself?
Oh, that's funny, because I've got the Kings winning the NBA Cup too. What is going... So we pretty much have... Okay, the clock's still counting down. Who's going to have the worst record, and what record is that going to be?
I've got the Nets going 17-65. Who do you reckon's got the best record, and what is it?
OKC 61-21, and that's all our questions in the quickfire. Hang on, so we've both gone the Kings to win the NBA Cup. How did you come to that decision? Did you cover your eyes and pick it?
No, I was trying to take the focus away from someone we picked within that top 4 for the playoffs, just to keep things interesting. But I think just with the addition of DeRozan, adds just an extra level for them, and if Malik Monk can play the way he has been playing. It all surprised us last season that the Pacers came to the finals, so why not pick a couple of underdogs to push through? So I like the style of play. I've been a huge fan of Fox since he was drafted in the league, and I think these guys can go all the way. How about you? What was your
what you
reasoning?
brought up, what you brought up about the Pacers making the NBA Cup, that's pretty similar to why I've chosen the Kings. Like, the Pacers are such a great style of play, such a great offense. I think the Kings are pretty much the Western Conference version of that. So I think a situation like the in-season tournament, the NBA Cup, where it's playoff level basketball so early in the season, I can see the Kings coming out of the blocks firing straight away. And I mean, the NBA Cup's a great way to do that. Look at that. Look at us again. Great minds think alike, Rav. I like that.
Love it.
Finally, before we end things, it is the NBA. It officially kicks off tomorrow night, Rav. The Knicks and the Celtics, and the Timberwolves and the Lakers. Those are the two matchups. Who are your picks? Quickly, as to who's going to win those matches.
Yeah, I'm gonna surprise a lot of people. I'm backing with what I did with the playoffs and who's gonna win. I'm gonna go Knicks to win. Just really looking forward to that center matchup as well. Just to see how that stands up, and also to see that team defense with OG and Mikal guarding the wings of JT and JB. Just one thing to look out for, like we spoke in the Eastern Conference episode, is how tenacious JT and JB are going to be off the blocks, especially following the summer they had. Yeah.
Okay.
How about you?
Yeah, I've gone. So I like how you've already gone with the riot in New York on the opening night. So good on you, Rav. I've gone the other way. I think the Celtics will win opening night, just because I think it's more to do with the Celtics having a similar squad as to last season, that team chemistry. I think the Knicks are still. It's going to take a few games for them to figure things out with their starting five and who's going to come off the bench. So I think just because of that, Celtics will win. Timberwolves and Lakers, I'm pretty much just going back on what I just said, because I think the Timberwolves, even though they're going to add Julius Randle and DiVincenzo to the lineup, I think they're going to be good, too good for the Lakers. So Celtics and T-Wolves are my winners
I've
for
got
the opening
the
night.
Wolves as well. Yeah, I've got Wolves. Just looking forward to DiVincenzo keeping that, I guess, dog mentality that he's had all preseason. And one thing to take notice, Ant has taken 12 threes on average over preseason. So just be interesting to see if he's going to translate that into
the green light
season as well. Yeah, 100%.
So
yeah, and one more thing, seeing, I guess, history in the making with LeBron James and Bronny being on the court for an official regular season game. So that'd be pretty cool to see.
Do you think that's going to happen?
I think they'll do it just for the sake of doing it. I don't.
Just to get out of the way.
Yep.
Okay. I'm going to be the downer here. I don't think it's going to happen. But I mean, I could easily be proven wrong. I mean, I can see them doing it just to get out of the way and just to have the moment to kick things off. But that is all our preview for the NBA season. Well done, Rav. We went through all of that analysis and predictions. The NBA season is here. Let's enjoy it. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. Rav, as always, thanks for joining me. Without further ado, NBA season kicks off tomorrow. Everyone tune in. We got next and Matiwa.